All right, welcome to the Body Geeks podcast. I believe this is episode 12. I'm your host, Brandon Gerdes, alongside my co-host, Mason Cervantes. And we were both just talking before this episode. We're both a little on the tired side of things. This is the Sunday evening. I didn't do a whole lot this weekend. You do anything this weekend?
No, not really.
Yeah, it felt kind of good to have a weekend at home myself.
Yeah. I think next weekend we plan on hitting the Orange County Fair and then also seeing Pepper. So kind of kept it pretty mellow this week.
All right. Dude, I was actually, Beck and I were driving around yesterday and I saw a billboard for a county fair. I think it was probably the county fair where I'm at, but I told her, I was like, again, I haven't been to one in forever. I was like, it'd be kind of fun, once it still feels weird to say it, but once the kids are a little bit older,
right,
take them to the fair. Because like I remember whenever I was a kid, going to the fair was like the best thing. It's like the most fun. So it's like I can't wait to take my kids and kind of watch them interact with it and live through them.
Yeah,
and maybe get a beverage and some deep fried something.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you go for.
Yep. So, dude, I've had. All right, so let's see. In my life, I got two guys doing the USAs next weekend for classic physique.
Okay.
And both have physiques that I think got a chance at a pro card. So I'm excited for that. I've been interviewing. I actually have tomorrow. I have my third interview this month for a promotion. So I'm getting kind of sick of interviewing at this point, but another one of those. We heard back from our lender, and Beck and I are kind of pre-approved for a loan.
Nice.
But there's all kinds of rules with buying a house now, ever since they screwed it all up, in the crash in 2008. And so it's like the amount that we're qualified for would be great for us to purchase a home in like Rancho or Inland Empire. Like we could find a good home for that price. But with the way that the loan limits are for that county compared to LA County, the loan limits are too low for the house that we can qualify for. So it makes us kind of like stuck in LA County, where the amount that we qualify for doesn't buy us a whole lot. So it's like, I'm kind of like, I'm excited mostly because it's all good news, but I'm a little bit frustrated because I was like, Jesus, as if it's not hard enough to purchase a home. Like these stupid rules are making it like that much more challenging. Like the loan limits in Los Angeles County are significantly higher than they are in Riverside or San Bernardino County, right?
Right.
And the home prices are also significantly more expensive. But because that loan limit is higher, that's like where we're going to be looking for a house. So we literally have to stay in a more expensive place to live and buy something smaller because the way the loan limits work.
Jesus.
It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
you're so you're kind of stuck either way.
I was like, we got the government involved and now it's broken. What the hell?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. Yeah, since then,
since government started.
Yeah, they're just like like you said, you just get enough to get something okay in whatever spot you choose.
Yeah,
they're never like, oh yeah, you can transfer that nice lump sum you get to go to a different county.
I was like, okay, so the bank, right, is agreeing to give us this much money for a home.
Right.
Why does it matter what county I'm purchasing a home in? You know what I mean? Like
it shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're still like because there's the rules are so like difficult to decipher. We're still trying to get like a for sure answer on all of this stuff to see if if we can shop in that area or not. Like if there's, I don't know, some sort of weird system in place or weird rule or loophole or whatever. But overall, I'm excited because all things are kind of looking like, hopefully by this fall, we'll have our own place again, which would feel great. So I'm excited for that. And then it's not going to be, I think, the place that we want or like the place that is big enough to like raise our kids all through high school. But it's definitely something we can start building some equity and then upgrade when we need to. So yeah, I'm optimistic. So I'm grateful for all that. But I've been just kind of laughing all day because like dude, we got a pre-approval for 700,000, right? Which is a lot compared to the whole nation. Like that, it's a lot. So I was like proud of that. And then we were looking at the counties, and then when it's like, okay, well, you're kind of stuck looking at like LA or Orange County. I was like, okay. And so we start kind of looking at stuff, and our realtor, who's a friend of ours, she was like, well, maybe you guys should consider townhomes too. And I was like, we're pre-qualified for $700,000 and we're considering condos and townhomes. What the hell? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be a millionaire to afford a home in Southern California. Like,
pretty much, man.
What the hell? So pretty much. So between and then the biggest part of my life, I think Becca and I are now like starting our 5th month or starting our 5th month, I think. So we're past the halfway mark with the pregnancy for
oh wow,
for the little boy.
It's good news.
So yeah, I'm hoping that all of these things, new job, new home, new baby, that they all kind of come in different parts, because I don't really feel like dealing with all that stress all at once.
Yeah,
so I hope I get spaced out a little bit. But it's all exciting stuff. I'm blessed. I'm happy. Like, I'm not, as much as I joke around about, things like the housing market, I'm not complaining at all. It's been a lot of work to get to where we're at, and we're blessed in that regard, and things are looking good. So I'm not complaining.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like our, it's like one of those first world problem things,
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I still kind of I laugh every once in a while. I remember when I went to Costa Rica, what was it, 4 years ago now? We met this guy on the beach, because the resort had all of the stuff you could do, right? Like, you want to rent a kayak and go on a river, like the resort would do it. But I'm like, every time I go to a resort, vacation spot, I like to try and find some locals, to find something local. Like, I want to feel like I'm actually vacationing there, not just, there's nothing wrong with going to a resort, just enjoying a resort, but I also like to see how life is like in other places, And I met this guy, and he took us on like an ATV tour. And at one point, like, Becca had to use the bathroom, so he it was Becca and I and 2 of our other friends, right? So like, he had us all come to his house. Like, we met his family. He let us use his restroom, like, during this ATV tour. I'm like, dude, this guy, like, you don't get that in America, really, But then I started just talking to him. I was like, so do you just do these like ATV tours every day? He's like, oh, I also do like fishing tours and horseback riding tours and hiking. And he's like, I do like pretty much anything outdoors. Like, if I find, some tourists that want to go, they could pay me, I'll show them. And I was like, well, what do you do if you don't get like a tourist that day? He's like, oh, I go fishing. It's like a huge fishing community, or not huge. It's like a little fishing community he lives in. He's like, yeah, he's like, we all, if you don't really have like a way you're making money, he's like, you go out and you catch fish, and then you bring it back to the community, and we just kind of split it up amongst everybody, and we just like eat dinner. And so I was like, so this guy literally every day, he's riding ATVs or horses or on a boat fishing in a rainforest, like in paradise. And the more I was talking to him, he was like, oh yeah, like, I've been to Denver, I've been to Louisiana, I've been to California, I've been to Washington, DC. I was like, this guy's like my age, living in a 3rd world country, and he's been to more places in America than I have. I'm like, what, are we doing something wrong? Like, I know we're a 1st world country. No kidding. I could buy Gucci shoes if I want to, or something stupid like that. And this guy, they literally share fish to feed each other. But then at the same time, he's also been to more places in my own country than I have. And
that's nice.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just kind of reminds me to be a little more simple, like, to the whole first world problems thing. Like, when you think of that, is that I was like, if I got rid of all this stuff and just focus on like the basics, then things are pretty good. But yeah, we have a lot of wealth here, and we have a lot of opportunity in America, but it also costs a lot too. So where there's more money to be made and more opportunity, there's also more expenses. So I think some people need to remember that when they're comparing, I guess, other parts of the world to America. Like, what's another? We got family in Ireland, right? Believe it or not, Becca has family in Ireland. So they're Filipinos in Ireland, like 100% Filipino with Irish accents. Pretty cool. But that's like awesome. When they had their babies, they had like a year of maternity leave. It's like paid leave, like a whole year.
Holy crap.
Like, you have a baby, we want you to stay home with your baby for a year to make sure the baby's all right, and you guys bond as a family. I was like, wait, we don't do that. Why don't we do that? We're supposed to be the country of, wealth and abundance. Why don't we do that? So I don't know. It makes me start to look at things, and then I just go, okay, where's my sand? I want to stick my head back in the sand. I don't want to look at how. I'll let the adults figure it out. I'll just focus on muscle mass, fat loss. Anyways, man.
Yeah, right.
That's what happens.
Keep it simple.
So what happens when I get tired? I start ranting and raving about stupid shit. Yeah. So you got the concert coming up and the fair. Anything else exciting happen or coming up?
Right. Yeah, just work, and then yeah, that's pretty much about it. I know in October I got let's see, September is a wedding, my cousin's, and then October is my sister's wedding, and then the day before that, one of my best friend's weddings. So that's pretty much the stuff that's on the horizon. So
lots of weddings.
yeah, lots of weddings.
Yeah, I got speaking of, Becca's cousin's getting married this fall. I don't know if we're going to make it though, because Becca's going to be like 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh yeah.
And the wedding is in Mexico. So, and then I think Becca's sister's getting married next year. My brother's getting married next year. Yeah. So I'll end up like that too, where I'll have a string of weddings to go to. Weddings are cool though. So
yeah, I don't mind them.
Especially if I don't know. There's two types of weddings, right? There's the weddings that are thrown for the guests, and there's the weddings that are thrown for the couple to get money and gifts from the guests. I don't like those. I like the first one.
Yeah. I perform the former.
Yeah. You want to invite me to a party to celebrate your marriage? I'm in. I'll still give you a gift and money,
Yeah.
But if you invite me there and you don't really know half the people that are there, and you just have this huge wedding because you're like trying to get stuff from people, I'm good. I don't want to hang out with. I really don't want to hang out with the other people's friends, let alone their strangers. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, a bunch of people I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even worse if it's like dry weddings.
Oh, yeah.
You been to any of those?
Yes. Yeah. But I've been to like one or two. And yeah, especially when you don't know anybody there, or it's just kind of like one of those, that's a rough go. There's a bunch of other things I'd rather be doing.
It's funny because I'm not even like a big drinker, right? But I've been to a couple of dry weddings, and I'm honestly at the point now where I'm like, thankfully we're getting older, right? So most of our friends have been married, or we've gone to enough weddings where like I'll ask people, I was like, is it a dry wedding? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, we're we're not gonna have any alcohol there. I was like, I'm gonna I'll send you a gift in the mail. See you guys.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a good question to ask beforehand. I actually better find that out. I better find that out beforehand. I'm going to like one or two of these weddings.
Yeah, at the very very least, you're gonna have to stop by a 7-Eleven or something and get a couple of those little the little alcoholic bottles and drink them in the parking lot.
Yeah, a little pregame.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about that? Why, it's probably a messed up thing because alcoholism isn't funny. I've had family members that have suffered from that or whatever, but why do they make those little hotel room size like little shot, right? Like a thing of Jack Daniels is like a little mini bottle.
Yeah.
Like, why do they make those? Like, who is ever in a point where they're like, man, I gotta get a shot from this gas station real quick. You know what I mean? Like, a hotel room, maybe I kind of get it, right? Like, you're in a hotel for whatever reason, you're like, I could use a drink, so I'll pay for this overpriced stuff in the mini bar. But who goes into like a gas station is like, yeah, give me like 2 shots of Jack. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I need exactly this amount. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because it's like you usually need more than that. Like, who needs just, who's enough to the point where they're like, I just need just this one thing and then I'm good. Well,
and it's the lack of planning too, right? Like if I knew I was going to be drinking, right, I'd at least bring a flask with me. Like I prepare for your day,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Who ends up at a gas station and just goes like, God, I have no alcohol on me. I could really use a drink. Let me go buy just these like little individual shot size, alcohol.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Yeah, especially where I'm at with everything. Like, I don't drink often, so when I do, it's like there's going to be a bunch of pre-planning.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll never be at the point where I'm like, all right, I'll take 50 of these bottles.
yeah, dude. If I drink anymore, it's got to like outside of having like a beer with dinner or something. I feel like I got to plan the days leading up to it and the days
Oh
afterwards,
yeah,
like
for sure.
because I don't recover and I gotta to make sure somebody's watching the kid.
Right,
I
right. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
I make
make
sure
sure
I
I
got
don't
to
have to work the following day.
make
Like,
sure I'm around the right people, and make sure I got a ride.
yeah, yeah. Getting older is fun. Anyways, I feel like if we don't have some direction, uh, all the ideas I have right now, because I'm tired, are going to be me just complaining about random things. So, which maybe is entertaining to some people, but it's I don't let most people see that side of me, right? you see it, but
Right, yeah.
otherwise I try to keep it locked up.
Yeah.
So we'll get into some
Yeah,
of the
try to keep it behind closed doors.
yeah, exactly. Like otherwise it's just like, Brandon, why do you think about stuff like that? I don't know. I wish I didn't. I don't know why I think about weird stuff like this, but it just happens. I can't turn my mind off.
Right.
Start contemplating stuff and get a negative spin on it. And I'm like, gas stations selling shot glasses of whiskey. This is stupid. Why are they doing this? Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Anyways, let's get into some questions. So we'll give the people what they want. As always, a little quick reminder for those of you listening, we do appreciate your questions and comments and stuff. So, make sure to put them in the comments or shoot us DM or whatever. So, we're open books. If you got questions about things, feel free to ask them. You got two guys with a lot of experience that were willing to answer your questions and hopefully help a bunch of other people in the process. I always hate doing that too, because I feel like I'm one of those YouTubers now. Like, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Funny story on that, really quick. Riley was walking around. She's at the point now where she never shuts up, which is great. I don't mind it, but like she just walks around speaking gibberish or saying words or just telling stories or whatever, just nonstop, 24/7. She just like I even made a joke with her. I was like, Riley, can you sit still and be quiet for like 10 seconds? And I'm like, 1, 2. She make it like 3 seconds before she has to fidget or talk or whatever. She's just, So anyway, she was running around saying stuff. And then all of a sudden I heard her go like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I looked for a second. I was like, I got to limit your YouTube, little girl. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
So she's telling a story, playing with dolls or whatever. Like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Guys, you're like, we are not having that talk.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a normal thing.
I was like, if not, I'm going to put a camera on you and we're going to make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
All these she watches all those little kid, like, I think there's one called like Ryan's World or something. This kid has like 10 million subscribers or something stupid. He's a multimillionaire. And it's just some little kid like playing with toys and like kind of reviewing them. So I was like, geez.
Yeah. Unboxing videos. That's where it's at.
Yep. So yeah, if Riley keeps it up, maybe she'll have her own channel.
Right. She'll be showing us how it's done.
All right. So I got one here. It says, I'm naturally lean. I work in law enforcement, so eating can be very difficult depending on how work goes. It's like, how can I get the calories in to grow with shift work over 40 hours a week? Like, what food should I go to? So basically, we got somebody, right? They work shift work. They're in law enforcement. If you're a listener that doesn't know what shift work is, basically it means that somebody has to fill your position like almost all the time, right? So it's not very flexible. And obviously in law enforcement, you could have nothing going on, then you could have everything going on. So it's very hard to plan meals. So we got a guy who's naturally lean, which means he's probably a hard gainer. He works a job that's not very flexible or convenient to eat on a schedule. So how can he get the calories in to grow? What food should he go to? Got an answer? Or you want to think while I answer?
No. I was gonna say. It's kind of broad, having somebody like that. Probably the next thing I would say is like, what do you have access to? Do you have access to a microwave? Is, shopping an issue for you? The easy thing, if you could afford it, might be like meal prep, and even then you knock that out, maybe 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day, something that where you're like, it's inconvenient for you to say hit a certain meal, like breakfast or dinner, something where, like that one's specific one's going to be tough. You can maybe do something like that. Um, Other than that, I try to stay away from too much protein bars and protein drinks and stuff like that. Whereas like when I'd say when I was younger, probably not you so much, but at least when I was younger, I used to maybe like lean on those a little much. You know what I mean?
Well, and
Um,
I did the same thing being in the shop, right? Because we had a whole wall
yeah,
of protein bars and protein drinks all the time. And as much as we need to get all the excess protein in, the downside with consuming a lot of protein, especially like a protein bar, is a lot of, well, protein in and of itself um, is like a high satiety food. So like you can eat a lot of protein, it makes you feel full longer. Now this the feeling of fullness is very unique to the person, because obviously people that are on like keto diets that are eating crazy high protein, then they're hungry a lot, right? So like it varies, but typically like you eat a protein bar, factoring in the protein, it's probably going to have a lot of fiber, probably going to have a lot of like sugar alcohols and different things that just make the stomach not hungry. So if you're struggling to get the calories in, as much as it's a great idea to like use that because it's a convenient food to bring with you everywhere and eat, it might actually disrupt how many calories you can consume on the day because you're actually not hungry after you eat it for a while, you know? So that's at least my experience. I know you never get hungry, you never get full. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
on the opposite end of the spectrum.
yeah. Very, very little with me. But yeah, like I said, maybe not bars as much, maybe a shake from time to time. I've worked with certain coaches in the past who have allowed me to intake up to 50% of my daily protein intake from shakes, but that doesn't mean it's just a shake. That means the shake is a portion of the meal. So when you break down your macronutrients and stuff, that is taking the place of a chicken breast or of a piece of steak or something like that. So I still got to fit in those other macros. If I'm low carb, then yeah, that might be easy to just have a shake and a handful of nuts. You know what I mean? Or a certain a gram of like maybe 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or almond butter. Or if it's a carb, then an easy one is you know if if you're really crunching, just throw in like some dry scoops of oatmeal, and then like let it soak and then just eat it that way, or overnight oats would be another good one. But I mean, the biggest thing for you, especially if you're lean, is probably, just high density, caloric foods. So I would say if you're eating chicken, try to get in some steak, stuff that like some lean beef, something that has maybe a little more fat in it, but isn't like super fatty, so that way you can digest it. Uh, and then stuff that's just easier to quickly digest. But I would say for you, the biggest thing is going to be prep, and then just having like a backup for something. So like I said, maybe one or two shakes in your vehicle, with some type of quick digesting like a banana or something that doesn't take a whole lot to like throw in a microwave and wait and all that type of stuff. Another quick one is probably like Greek yogurt, and then mix in like whatever into it, fruit, nuts, something like that, almond butter, or you can even mix in a scoop of protein with it to flavor it, some cinnamon, and that way you don't, same thing, you don't need a microwave, you can, and it's pretty quick to like just shovel down. But those would probably be like my go-to for quick things without excluding protein bars.
Yeah, that's I was kind of going to go up the same thing you said with depending on if you had access to a microwave. So I'm picturing, anybody with shift work in a job where like you can't just eat, um, you can't just take time off to eat and not respond to calls or whatever else you have to do, is to like when you prep your meals, prepare meals that you could eat cold. So like one of my favorite meals that I like to do in the off season that works well for me is I'll do jasmine rice, and when I cook it with coconut oil. So I'm getting the extra fat in there. It
Right.
also keeps the rice from drying out. And I enjoy the flavor. Like jasmine rice and coconut oil kind of pair up well together. You can go a step further if you want to, kind of like what Stan Efferding has some of his meals doing, if I remember correctly, like add dextrose to it, or even just sugar, right? And that's going to increase your carbs. So basically, you have this rice that's rice, coconut oil, or medium chain triglycerides, and sugar. So like that's very calorically dense for a food that you could eat hot or cold. And then I actually like to get ground chicken or ground turkey, and you could even do ground beef if you wanted to. But
Yeah.
any of those, like, and whenever I cook it, I really like chop it up really fine. Like I don't want big chunks, right? And I'll mix that in with the rice. So, it's not like I have the rice and the meat and the fats or veggies or whatever separate. Like you can just kind of mix it all in one, and it's something that you could eat cold if you have to, or you can eat it, and then if you have to run and work and then come back to it and eat it later, you can. And it's a very like high calorie meal because of the added fats and because of the added sugars and stuff like that. I second your motion on having some standby shakes, especially as a hard gainer and especially if you're crunched on time. I have one that I have a shake before bed every night because I'm trying to grow right now. But it varies depending on how I feel on the day. I'll put different stuff in there because I'm trying to be more health focused these days. So I mix in a lot more berries and stuff. But um, it may be difficult to take rice milk with you, but I really like rice milk because it's high carb. It digests well for me. Like if it's something I'm doing daily, like if I do a lot of dairy every day, it tends to upset my stomach. But rice milk I could do every day, no problem. So like for me in a shaker cup, 16 ounces of rice milk is 60 grams of carbs right there, right? And then I'll add 50 grams of protein to it. I add a little fiber and flaxseed. That's for health. You don't have to do that if you're a hard gamer or hard gainer. But then one of the things that's made a big difference lately for me is True Nutrition. So truenutrition.com, if you guys want to look it up. They actually sell a powdered avocado oil now, which is pretty cool because I've added oil to my shakes forever and it's always gross. Olive oil mixed into a protein shake tastes horrible. Avocado oil is a little bit better. Coconut oil doesn't stay liquid at cold temperatures, so you can't drink that. You can get MCT oil, but anyways, avocado oil powder, and add a scoop or two of that. Like I think one scoop is 20 grams of avocado oil powder. So I think, do I still have you, Mason? You look like you froze on the screen. Great. My internet's jacked up. Anyways, hopefully Mason will come back. Hopefully this is still recording. Hey, there you are.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I saw you froze for a second. So anyways, you can either use rice milk or you can use any of the carb supplements to get like
choppy again.
Shit. Hopefully it's recording well on my end and it's crystal clear. And then you'll come back. This is frustrating. Basically, if you can have, call it 50 grams of carbs, 50 grams of protein, that's 400 calories right there. And then if you're adding anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of fats, like you're going to have 700. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So it's recording again. I hope this is still the same freaking episode that we just did. If not, I hope I find that file somewhere. God, I'm so frustrated with the internet here. I live like 5-6 miles from downtown Los Angeles, and I can't get. I'm not gonna curse. I can't get solid internet in my home. It's 2021. Billionaires are shooting dick rockets into space, and I can't get internet in my freaking house. All right, back to the question. You're a hard gainer, trying to get calories in quick because you work a lot. What I was saying was that if you can throw in a shaker cup 50 grams of carbs, 50 grams of protein, that's roughly 400 grams or 400 calories right there. And then I got this stuff from True Nutrition, avocado oil powder that is almost flavorless, that has about 20 grams of fat per scoop. So you can easily make a 600 or so calorie shake that fits in a shaker cup that you could drink really easily. And that's kind of the basis of my I usually get up to about 1,000 calories in my shake before bed with everything else I add to it. But that's like the core of it. And that's something that, you have your meals, you meal prep, you do your best to get your calories in, but to have that shake as a backup, if you get real busy, to be able to drink, 600-700 calories real quick is pretty good. And if you're getting it of like good sources, take a digestive enzyme if you need to. You shouldn't have any gut issues, and that should help keep you on your goal of gaining mass. So that's what I was trying to say before my internet jacked up. So anyway,
yeah, I guess to add on to that, pretty much any fast digesting carb, for most people that you have, an easy way is really just to sneak in oil, a fat of some sort, or like Breon does, pour some peanut butter on your chicken, or something like that. Like that's good fats, but
Did
I
I?
think oil or butter is a pretty good one.
I got a funny thing with Breon and the peanut butters and almond butters. I have to watch him and I have to plan it out for him to cheat with that,
Oh,
because
really?
when we get like within a month out from the Olympia,
Mhm.
I'm starving him because we have to make weight and we're trying to get extra peeled. And like, this is what's worked for us in the past. And we're using a lot of almond butter, which is like the thing he looks forward to every day.
Right.
And every time without fail, we'll be like 2 weeks out and I'll get a text in the morning. Hey B, I messed up. I'm like, okay, what happened? What'd you eat? He's like, I ate like a jar of almond butter last night, or half a
Jesus.
jar,
Oh my
I was
God.
like, okay, I'm gonna give you some extra cardio. We're gonna watch the scale. We're gonna look at your physique, and we're gonna, I can always smooth it out.
Right.
But he knows that if he cheats like that, then I'm gonna punish him and be like, all right, well, look, now you have an hour and a half of fasted cardio this morning.
Right.
You
Right.
have an hour of post-workout cardio, and then I want you to do another hour before bed. So today you're gonna do like 3 or 4 hours of cardio.
Jeez.
And he does it though. That's the thing with Breon, right? Is he may slip up on his diet every once in a while because
Right.
it's tough. But the dude's a workhorse in the gym. So if I tell him, hey, you're gonna do cardio all day today, he would just sit on the stairmaster doing it. So yeah.
Makes up for it. So can't be mad at it, I guess.
All right, let me see. Another question here.
I think that last one's pretty good. The one, let's see, the one you sent through, it was regarding, let's see here.
The one about training, or the one about motivation?
Training.
Okay. You got it? You want to read it? You want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll read it off.
All right, cool.
So it says, question. I haven't found an answer for on YouTube. For the past 5 weeks, my workouts have been like this. Monday through Friday, I've been doing one body part per day. For example, all chest Monday, all back Tuesday, all legs Wednesday, all shoulders Thursday, arms Friday. But each week I switched the order. Then each Saturday I did one exercise per body part. My question is this a good way to work out? I'm on week 6, feeling fatigued. Also, each exercise is normally 20 rep for 3 sets, 4 to 5 exercises per day.
Yeah, so there's a lot to address with this one, right? Which is part of why I was like, yeah, this is a good answer. But I had to, even whenever I was thinking about how I'd respond, I had to kind of simplify it. So like, basically what I'm getting from this is that they're working out 6 days a week, right? Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday, they do one body part per day, but each week it's different. So like maybe on week 1, they train chest on Monday, and on week 2, they train chest on Wednesday. Like it seems like they're just kind of winging it, right? And then on Saturday, if I'm reading this right, one exercise per body part. So basically they're doing one body part Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday, they're doing a full body workout. Right. And then they're also doing crazy volume, 3 sets of 20 for 4 to 5 exercises per day. So there's a lot to address that. And then they're on week 6 and they're feeling fatigued, which I'm not surprised, because 6 days a week with crazy high volume is going to beat you up. I'll go ahead. You can address it, Mason. And then if not, I got things to say.
I mean, it's probably, I mean, it's something I think we've learned at least through powerlifting, is that even bodybuilders need a deload. So if you're training like a bodybuilder, you should have a week where you go very, maybe 50% of your training volume, or, same thing with like maybe 70 to like 90% of the weight you were doing the previous week or something like that. It should feel like a workout, but it shouldn't kill you. You're kind of just moving some blood around.
I usually tell people from a bodybuilding perspective, what I have them do instead is to just go play with different machines. Like
Yeah.
I was like, look, you're not here. You're not going to work out. So just get a pump, but just go try some different machines and try some different exercises that you think you may want to add.
Right.
Because usually by the time with the bodybuilding program, when I'm having somebody rest or deload like that, I'm probably going to switch up their program. Because there's not very many bodybuilding programs that, that you're going to follow that, you're going to be like super hard with progression and then deload for a week and then get right back on the same program. You can,
Right.
but usually it's like, okay, well now let's kind of modify everything. So I usually, to prevent people from like continuing to train too hard, I'll tell them like, hey, just let's throw some different stuff at the muscle for like light to moderate weight and just get a pump. So, if you've been doing like a certain type of lat pull down, try a couple different attachments on that, or try a different machine. And sometimes, I've had it happen with me where I'll discover a machine that actually targets a muscle incredibly well. And I was like, oh shoot, I like my meathead ass would never have even tried this machine if it wasn't for having to deload and not deadlift, or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how I deload as a bodybuilder, is because a lot of bodybuilders aren't as they're not as focused on the math of their training. So
Yeah.
when I tell them like only go 60%, they're like, huh?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For I guess the easiest way, it would be like an RP is in reserve is you could just say, leave like 3 or 4 reps in the tank. You know what I mean? But a lot of this I guess just depends on whatever it is your goal is. I feel like 3x20 is good for a workout, but is the goal to build muscle? Is it to burn fat? Is it to, strength training, all that type of stuff? For what you're doing, you're
not really going to build a whole lot of muscle on 3x20.
Right. So that just depends, because if you are trying to do that, it sounds like could be burning the candle at both ends in terms of volume and intensity. And, those usually end up with a lot of fatigue. So for where you're at, I would say, like Brandon said, either get a pump this week or do like 4 days this week. I know it's going to seem crazy because you've been doing 6, I mean, maybe even 5, but like I said, you're going to have to tailor your volume. You're going to have to tailor your intensity to where you're just kind of going in and maybe just breaking a sweat, and then refresh for the following week. I would say
you can also go like, because I honestly got to a point after doing it for a while, right, where whenever I knew that I needed like a deload week, I just started taking the week off, and I would still exercise, but I wouldn't lift. I would like, if anything, I do like corrective exercises for posture, things like that. I do a lot of like stretching and foam rolling at home, or maybe I go to the gym and I would just do like some low intensity cardio for like an hour. Because if you still have to go to the gym, which I understand, trust me, I love the gym, so like I get the taking a week off is like torture for some people. But the whole point of a deload week or a rest week is to not train hard. And so sometimes the best way to do that is to just do something different. Right. So like,
right.
Now what Mason's saying is obviously the first choice. If you can actually have the ability to spend a week training at like 60% and even doing the same exercises, like by all means, that's probably the best way to go. But just remember, regardless of what you do, the whole point is to give your body extra rest so it can catch up. Because it's just, if you're feeling fatigued and a little beat up, the only way you're going to fix yourself is to let your body heal, which is going to occur through some sort of rest. Right.
So. Yeah. That's the biggest thing for you is maybe when you get back to it, maybe you kind of change up the volume a little bit, or, I would try to be on a little more of a, I guess, stricter program. Maybe if you're switching up the order of everything, maybe like every 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. So that you can kind of like gauge your fatigue a little earlier. Usually when fatigue hits you, it's not because of one crazy, I mean, it might be because of one crazy week, but fatigue is usually an accumulation of like 3 to 6 weeks, or I mean, there's no set number, but it's usually an accumulation of a lot of things. You know what I mean? So it's going to take a little to recover from, like maybe a week to 10 days, depending on how beat up you are. So I would try not necessarily a program, but I would try to get on something a little more something that's easier to monitor, I guess, in terms of like your weight, your repetitions and all that. Doesn't have to necessarily be logged, but just it seems like your frequency and your volume and your intensity is all up together. Those things kind of got to be interchanged a little bit, so
Yeah,
if
they
you're
have to complement each other.
yeah. So if you're killing yourself on a back day, maybe your leg day is a little lighter. That doesn't mean you're taking the day off. It just means, you're leaving a little in reserve, and then you flip that the following week where maybe your leg day is a little more intense, but your back day is, like Brandon said, maybe you change to a different machine and you're doing more width stuff instead of more like thickness stuff, more deadlifts or, heavy rows, and you're just doing like some pull downs and pull ups and, stuff like that. That's not as, or just maybe even like a body weight type day on something like that to kind of change things up. And you're still training relatively hard, but the poundage and the intensity isn't as crazy.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would address with this is um, I don't like that each week is like a different workout split.
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing that I would iron out. Like, if you want to do one body part a day, 5 days a week, and even a full body day like that, I mean, that's a lot. 6 days a week and having a full body workout at the end, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, I would design the program to make sense with that in mind. So, for example, if I trained legs on Mondays, I would always train legs on Mondays. The workout split days would not change because I would, like, for example, I would separate my leg day from my back day. So if I train legs on, uh, Monday, maybe back would be Wednesday or Thursday, right? Or even Friday. And I would probably even, if you're going to do the full body day on a Saturday, I would probably say legs on Monday, start the week out hard with those. Um, Tuesday and Wednesday, I would do smaller muscle groups. So maybe chest on Tuesday, maybe arms on Wednesday, back on Thursday, and shoulders on Friday. And my reasoning for that is, so we've separated legs from back as best we can. You're also training legs after a rest day, so that should help with your leg day training.
Yeah.
And then we're also putting the small muscle groups, chest, arms, and shoulders. If we train shoulders on Friday before the full body day, that should give the rest of your body a little more of a rest so that you can actually attack a full body day. With the exception of your shoulders that are going to get hit back to back like that. So that's where, when we're looking at frequency, like when Mason's talking about, the frequency at which you hit things has to make sense. And if you're doing different muscle groups on different days every week, the frequency is all over the place. Sometimes it's too frequent, sometimes it's not frequent enough. So I would put yourself on like a rigid structure like that. And then personally, I'd probably ditch the full body day if it was me.
Yeah, I think so.
I think an extra rest day would make more sense. And then the 3x20, I'm not a big fan of that. That's the only reason I ever do like 20 reps. Okay. There's several times I'll do it. For example, legs tend to respond better from a bodybuilding standpoint with higher repetition stuff. So like what we call Widowmaker sets, 20 rep sets, even on like squats and stuff, could be brutal and could build some nasty legs. But 20 reps for like your chest or your arms, it's you're going to go too light for too many reps and train more of that like endurance kind of training. You could do 20, like I do 20 rep rest pause sets with my high intensity stuff, but a rest pause set is kind of like two sets into one, right? So I'm using a incredibly heavy weight that I could probably do for 12 reps, 10 or 12 reps on the first set. And then I rest for like 15 seconds. And then maybe I get like 7 or 8 and that gets to 20. Right. So I would probably switch it up and 15 would be the highest I would go probably for most exercises. I tend to follow the typical like trainer ranges. Your 3 to 5 is power, 5 to 8 is, I don't know what they call that one. The 8 to 12 is hypertrophy and 12 to 15 is endurance or whatever. But from a bodybuilding standpoint, I think that 8 to 12 is where you want to be most of the time, with the exception 12 to 15 on like either lightweight with focus on form or maybe on legs, or things like that. The 4 to 5 exercises per day on volume programs, I'd like to do 4 to 5 exercises for big muscle groups. For small muscle groups, you really only need 2 to 3. Like I'm never doing, if I'm training my chest, like I don't think I need 5 exercises for chest. I probably only need 3.
Yeah.
Like that's probably all I need. Same thing with shoulders. Like your biceps and triceps should need no more than 2 exercises each, if not even just 1. So yeah, kind of snapshot of that is put yourself on a rigid weekly routine that's consistent. I would ditch the full body day personally. And then I would maybe do 4 sets of like 10 to 15 reps, and I think that would probably fix the fatigue thing and probably give you more results. That would be, that's how I would, without giving you a whole new program.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I would like say, like for maybe like a full body would be like people that can only train 3 days a week, or maybe twice a week, or even like a push pull legs. And then maybe but in a day or two off, then your full body or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not against full body stuff at all.
No.
I just think full body after 5 days,
that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't really need it. If anything, if you want to go 6 days a week, that 6th day could be like a lagging body part day, or something, So like if you're hitting every muscle group once per week, but you want to bring up your chest, maybe you hit your chest on Saturdays as well. You hit it twice a week.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe on like that 5 or 6 days split for people, that last one should be, possibly like, whatever it is you're trying to bring up. Maybe you split your quads twice a week or something like that, or whatever it is. Like that 6th day is a focus on like something you're trying to bring up. Or even if it's just like if it's a full body thing and it's even just like sounds like you just like working out, go for a run, or like do something different, like a conditioning day, hill sprints, or go for a hike, or just have fun, like bike ride.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm all about that. So yeah, I think that's probably the best we can answer that question without knowing more about their specific goals, what they're trying to do.
Right. Yeah. That's a tough answer. Like I said, without having that, like, what's your goal? You know what I mean? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah. Let's see. We had another one that I wanted to address because I've been working out really early in the morning.
Okay.
We said breakfast. Like I get up at 3:53. That's really specific. I get up at 3:53 a.m. to train. What are some pre-gym breakfasts I could have? I've done Chex cereal, some little breakfast burritos, but I tend to overeat with those. So yeah, I used to say that my workouts sucked unless I had like 2 meals in on the day. So like I spent most of my life training at the very least in the early afternoon. Most of the time I was training actually at like 8:30 at night, because Mason and I would work the shops. We closed at 8 and we hit the gym right afterwards. Right. So I had plenty of food in me by then. But that said, since I've started this new program where I've been going, I try to be at the gym at 6 a.m. I tried in the beginning where like I woke up extra early so I'd have time to eat like maybe some eggs and oatmeal and try and get like a good amount of food in. And honestly, I felt like my pumps were worse and I felt like shit because I was just kind of sleepy, and having to force feed at that time and stuff didn't really work out. So there's a study that shows having amino acids present when training can stimulate basically protein synthesis better, right? So I think that it is wise to have some protein in your system, but you don't necessarily have to have a full meal. So maybe some protein and some fast digesting carbs is probably all you need. So what I started doing, and it's worked out really well for me, I tried a couple of different things at first. First thing I did was I got an essential amino acid product, and I threw some creatine and some hydromax glycerol in there, and it gave me some really good pumps, but really like 10 grams of essential amino acids is not enough to accomplish the goal I was trying to accomplish. So again, I go back to my rice milk, right? Now, granted, if you're trying to lose weight, you probably don't need the rice milk. But for me trying to gain weight, I do. So I did 16 ounces of rice milk, which is 60 grams of carbs. And then True Nutrition, again, they make a product called Protein Coffee that actually It's vanilla chino flavored. It's 25 grams of protein with actual coffee mixed in the formula. And it gives you about a cup of coffee's worth of caffeine. It's like 100 milligrams of caffeine. So I was like, man, this is like the perfect morning workout thing for me is to do. It's 25 grams of protein from that with 100 milligrams of caffeine. I throw my glycerol and my creatine in there. I'm getting 60 grams of carbs from the rice milk. And then I usually I wake up, I take that with my other supplements right away. And then I wait because I'm going to have to poop. I use the restroom. And then afterwards I get out, I mix up then the amino acid drink that I do intra workout. I mix that up. I also have like a canteen full of water that I drink during training, and I drink the aminos and that water during training. So I'm getting roughly 60 grams of carbs and like 35 grams of protein, with maybe I think it comes out to like 5 grams of fat because there's a little bit of fat in the rice milk. And none of that is too heavy on my gut. And I get some great pumps. I have plenty of energy and I've had some good workouts. And then of course, after post workout, I have a pretty large breakfast because I'm not rushed anymore, as long as I have time to get to work or whatever else I have to do that morning, but yeah, that's been working for me as far as waking up super early. It's very easy to make, and it gives me enough sustenance to get through the workout.
Yeah, I was probably going to say something similar to that. Actually, I was going to, before you came out with that product, I was going to say probably what my go-to would be like rice milk. And I've done it for years and never that was before they came out with these protein things, is I would make, I don't, me, I don't like hot beverages. I don't like soup. So everything I have is with ice. So especially when I started in elevator, I usually have to get up somewhere between 4 and 5. So, when I wasn't doing carnivore and I wasn't, fasting most of the day, I was basically getting up, and this is when I'm on more of a macro based plan where it's a percentage of carbs, percentage of protein, percentage of fat. For me to get to work, I'd make as big a cup of coffee as my Keurig would have me make or whatever, which is probably closer to the 150 maybe 160 range of caffeine. Then I would throw in about 50 grams of protein, what or whatever the weight measurement is that you need to get your macros through the day. I wouldn't say if it's pre-training you're gonna want to have a lot of protein, maybe 20-25 grams.
You'd cool your coffee off before you did that, right?
Yeah. So I usually have a shaker full of ice, and then I just pour the coffee straight into it, and then I throw in however many measured scoops of protein I want, and then usually that would be it. And because I'm more of the low carb, so I'd usually have that with almond butter or rice cakes, depending on the goal, or a piece of fruit. And then same thing, in Brandon's case, I would just say, mix that with almond or rice milk, and you're good to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of almond milk, if you wanted a low carb option, almond milk could be another option for you there.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing with what Mason said is if you do coffee and protein, it's not a good thing to mix whey protein in hot beverages. So definitely cool it off first, because otherwise you can, I think, denature the protein. It kind of fucks it up, and you can't, because you're not getting the benefit anymore. You just waste the money. But
I always just throw everything I do is ice, like I said. So I would just be a full cup of ice, because half of that is going to get watered down or melted when you pour in the coffee. Then I would just toss the scoop in and then just shake it, and I'd be on my way.
Yeah, perfect.
And if you don't have time constraints, I would look up, it's called John Meadows pre-workout meal or pre-workout bowl or something like that. I used to do it pretty consistently for pre-training in the morning, and if like I said, if time isn't a thing, then that was probably one of my number ones, because it usually consists of whey isolate, usually consists of cream of rice and sugar-free Hershey syrup, and a certain measured amount, maybe 9 to 10 grams of almond butter. So that itself, like the macros on that, where you can adjust to whatever it is you specifically need. But I remember I do that, and it was like, I'd be able to digest it. And even for me, who's somebody who's kind of like has an issue with a certain amount of carbs, it was easily to digest, and I'd have like a pretty decent workout on it.
Cool. All right, let's see. I'm in a rut with nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways I can stay more consistent? Just nut up and do it. I try to mix things up so it's not always chicken and rice.
Mm-hmm.
I
think that one has two answers for sure. Probably yes, it is nut up and do it more times than not for most people. But also, like, if your example is chicken and rice, man, for everybody out there who thinks you're more hardcore for doing chicken and rice is garbage. It is bullshit. Like, I'll fucking say it right now, chicken and rice, fucking cans of tuna, tilapia, fucking almonds, brown rice, broccoli. That's all bullshit. You don't need any of it. You can fully accomplish.
For the record, my clients that are pre-contest that are eating that right now, you're still going to eat that because you're pre-contest and you wanted this. Remember, you wanted this. But
yeah, there's a difference for most people. Most people can look pretty fucking awesome and, be maybe somewhere within that like 8 to 12% body fat range, even 15, and look pretty fucking good, and not need to have to kill yourself with those things. You can, that's where you can get a little more friendly with it if it fits your macros. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm probably on that bigger spectrum because I chose to do powerlifting for, all those years. For me, the biggest thing was just calories most of the time if I wasn't like really watching my weight. But I got over chicken and tilapia pretty fast. So like I use things like, I would just swap things out over a period of time. It was like I would use swai or basa or something, a different white fish that just didn't taste like tilapia. Same thing with chicken. I would substitute maybe a different kind of white fish, but I would really look for like lean ground turkey, or extremely lean ground beef or ground beef. And I would just, there's a way you can look up how to drain as much fat as you need to out of your ground beef. Typically I'll buy the 88% from Costco, and I won't drain out all of it, but I usually just take out, the meat right out of the thing, and there's a bunch of oil left over, and I pretty much just call it 90%. It's probably leaner, but like I'm not saying, like Brandon said, I'm not jumping on stage. So it's enough for me to like count. And, I would say for most people, for you, your rut is probably just that you're eating the same bullshit, that everybody thinks they need to eat. Yeah. Like enjoy life, man. Like, like if you go to Sprouts, like me and Brandon used to like live at Sprouts, there's ground kangaroo, believe it or not, there's ground bison, there's ground veal, there's ground, just about anything. Try that and mix that in. You should see the fat content on that stuff. It's pretty fucking awesome.
Another great chicken substitute that I've recently started using with some of my clients and even eating myself, shrimp. I never actually did a whole lot of shrimp, but shrimp you could make that taste amazing with any of your carb sources.
Shrimp doesn't need much. Like that's the nice thing about shrimp is shrimp. You literally just throw in like lemon and it's awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
and then the other savior I had for chicken and rice in particular is, for one, like I said, I actually like for the chicken and rice meals, I like to use ground chicken or ground turkey, because I can, like I said, I cook it up and I kind of chop it up really fine and I mix it in with the rice. And so, the worst thing for me when I was eating chicken and rice and getting tired of it, or tilapia and rice and whatever else, is that I would take a bite of the protein and start chewing it, and I didn't want to eat it at all. Like, you can always eat rice. Like, rice is rice. Rice shouldn't ever be hard to eat, right? But for me, like, to take a bite of chicken that's probably like dry and tastes horrible after you heat it up in the microwave, and then to try and eat a thing of rice and it's just not tasting very good no matter what you do, it just makes it difficult. So adding the ground chicken or ground turkey mixed in with the rice, for some reason for me, like eating a mixture of rice plus the ground turkey in there, it made it easier. But then hot sauces,
Yes.
salsas,
Salsa's a big one.
even different marinades and seasonings. Like you
Yeah.
have, if you do some research, you have hundreds, if not thousands of different flavors you can add to chicken and rice.
Yeah.
Um,
If you just look at like what's in most salsas, like Gerdes, picante, stuff like that, it's just veggies. There's
yeah.
nothing.
Yep.
If there's anything you don't see that you don't recognize, then get like a Sprouts or Whole Foods brand that's all natural. But really, it's just veggies. So, like one I was going to add on to that, keep your like even just chicken. Like even for me, I don't eat chicken that often, but when I do, typically I crock pot it in like a gang of like Herdes salsa.
Yeah.
Um, it like green salt. They're green salsa. It's like medium. I think it tastes like enchiladas. So
Yep.
like you just mix that in, and then or you can make it all in one pot with the rice, and it's fucking awesome.
And you could also put that on your eggs. You could do like this.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
so that's one way to kind of like, if you find yourself bored of a meal, um, don't shy away from stuff like that. Even if you find something you're like, oh, it has a little more fat and sugars than I'd like, well, just adjust your macros to fit that in. That's where flexible dieting really shines. People took it the wrong way when it first came out and was like, oh, I'm gonna eat Pop-Tarts with every meal because I'm gonna fit that into my macros, right? But like, really, it should be that it's like you have your consistent like foods that you're eating, and then you find different ways to make them taste good, and you adjust your macros to fit in flavorful things so that you're not eating the same garbage all the time. And then the other thing with the hot sauces and salsas and stuff is that, like Mason said, a lot of them actually aren't crazy high calorie. But other people I've talked to, they really worry about the sodium content. And unless you have like edema and blood pressure issues, you shouldn't worry about sodium. Sodium can actually be beneficial and actually give you better workouts. So,
yeah.
so like I said, if you have high blood pressure, or if you notice edema like in your lower legs, or just too much water retention in general, maybe then start cutting back in your sodium. But the amount of extra sodium you're going to get by adding a hot sauce to your chicken and rice meal, uh, it's not going to be a significant amount that's going to actually affect anything. And if anything, it might even help you because you'll be a little more hydrated, hold a little more fluid in the muscle while you train, and joints feel a little better and stuff like that. So sodium isn't as evil as a lot of people made it out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Sodium is a big one. Like it's shown it can actually improve like pumps and recovery and all types of stuff. It's different if you're eating like cans of soup, you know what I mean, like canned stuff a lot of the times, then maybe you might have an issue with sodium, or like crazy amounts of beef jerky or sunflower seeds, all that stuff has probably a lot more sodium than you need to be intaking. But if that's not the case, then you're fine. Most
Yeah.
people think like, oh, I'm holding like a lot of water. You're just fat, really.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
what
have
it
people,
is.
we start pre-contest and they're like, should I limit my sodium? I'm like, why? And they're like, well, it's going to make me
Yeah,
lose fat easier, right? And I'm like, not really. Like
yeah,
we're focusing on burning
yeah.
fat.
Fat.
Like as far
Yeah,
as I know,
sodium
sodium isn't
doesn't.
high calorie. So
Yeah, sodium doesn't hold fat. Yeah, and then on top of that, yeah, it's like when you get down to the last minute, like what are you going to cut if you've already eliminated sodium so far out?
yeah, yep, exactly. All right, I think last question before we call this episode. Um, how did you find the motivation to get back in the gym hard after being out for a while? I've always been in love with it, but I haven't worked out since May. I lost 25 to 30 pounds since. I look skinny fat now. I know I need to get back into it, but I simply cannot muster motivation to do anything fitness related. I've never felt like this towards fitness before, so I don't know how to fix it. I'll bite first on this one. So, whenever I stopped training at the end of 2016, I came off all the gear I was taking, and I wanted to take a break so that Beck and I could have a child. And during that time, I didn't really intend on just stopping the gym and everything completely. I told myself that I was going to focus on business because I wanted to try and make some more money and be a little bit more established and ready for having a child. I also had a couple like business things not go so well, so like that was also the primary focus. So I was like, I'm going to put bodybuilding in the back burner to focus on that. And then I also told myself while I'm taking this time off that I wanted to be just like a normal person. I wanted to do some things that maybe I haven't been doing because I was so focused on bodybuilding. And I wanted to like when it came to eating, I was so sick of either bulking or cutting or whatever, like off season, pre-contest, that I was like, I'm just going to eat whenever I'm hungry and eat whatever I want, whatever I feel like eating. And believe it or not, it actually took me a while to get out of the habits I'd formed over, a decade, where I'd find myself going out to eat and I'm still ordering meals based off of like trying to find a good macro ratio. Like I was just kind of doing things second nature. But anyways, I slowly kind of got out of it, and then focusing on everything else with the gym being on the back burner, I just kind of slowly stopped going and started focusing on everything else. And yeah, that was the end of 2016, and we're in 2021 now, right? It's been almost 5 years. And I've had a couple times where I started weight training again, or I had a period there for a few months where I was running a lot, riding a mountain bike at one point for like quite a bit. So like I stayed active. And then, I got back into it recently, and now with different goals. So to answer your question, like, how do I find the motivation to do that after taking all that time off? The first thing is, don't compare your current self to your former self, because that you'll stop right away. People that were like, this guy said he lost 25 to 30 pounds and he's like skinny fat now. And it's like, okay, well, you go to the gym now and you're smaller and fatter, and you're like, well, I used to be able to lift this much. I used to look like this. And so all of a sudden now everything you're doing in the gym compared to what you used to do, it feels insignificant. It feels boring. So the first thing you have to do is you have to compare yourself to where you are today and say, okay, like, you're back in the gym, you want to make progress, you want to not be skinny fat, you want to build muscle again, whatever you want to do, just get better from today. Try and be better tomorrow than you are today. And that's always been the name of the game, but especially whenever you used to have something that you lost. If I went to the gym, like when I go to the gym now, if I'm honestly comparing myself to, my former best when I was on stage, I'm nowhere near that. I would just feel depressed all the time. But when I compare myself to a month ago, I'm better. So I'm on the track to get back to where I want to be, right? And then the second thing, and this is probably the most important thing for anybody with exercise, is you have to find something that's fun. You have to find a goal that's fun. I don't care who you are, how dedicated you are. If you're trying to accomplish a goal that isn't fun to you, you won't do it. If you're trying to force yourself to exercise and that sort of exercise isn't fun for you, you won't do it. So maybe the best thing to do right now isn't to go back into the gym with a full-on bodybuilding or powerlifting split. Ask yourself what sort of exercise is intriguing to you right now. Mm-hmm. Do you want to swim? You want to ride a bike? You want to go for runs? You want to do CrossFit? You want to, you want to do Olympic lifting? You want to just train biceps and abs and get a beach body? Like, I don't care what it is, right? Like, whatever that thing is that's like I had, still even to this day, I've enjoyed jumping rope. Like I superset jump rope and lunges. And so like I'll do like 100 or 200 like jumps on the jump rope, and then I'll do like 25 or 30 walking lunges, and then go right back to the jump rope, and it's just nonstop. And I don't know if that's really helped me from a bodybuilding perspective or powerlifting perspective, but it's fun and I feel better, and it's helping me make progress as a whole, right? So like I said, don't compare yourself to who you used to be. Compare yourself to who you are now moving forward, and pick a goal and or exercise that seems fun right now and do it for fun. I got lucky that I started geeking out on health and anti-aging. And one of the best things you could do for your health and to live a longer life and to not age as fast is to weight train, to resistance train, and exercise second to that. So that was my motivation to wake up early and go to the gym. Is I was like, you know what? I'm 33 years old now. And regardless of whatever I still want to do with bodybuilding or powerlifting, I know that I want to be in good shape, and I want to be 50 feeling 35. I want to be 60 feeling 40. That's right. How I want to live my life. So that was motivating to me, and that's what made the exercise fun again. So make yourself better than you were yesterday and make it fun. And if you do that, you're just motivated. You don't have to find motivation. You got anything to add to that?
I mean, you kind of nailed it. You know what I mean? Like I would really just say second to that in terms of, and I could tell myself the same thing all the time. Like, don't be going back on like where you previously were, going where you are now and where you were a week or a month ago. That's the same exact thing. And I'll do that from time to time where I start getting beat down on stuff, and I'll look at myself and I'll be like, dang, like I'm even like at the point now where I would have looked at myself when I was 18 or 19 and been like, how the hell do I get like that? You know what I mean? Or like like I'm at the best body composition, or the best like just walking around, not trying to do anything, or not being in prep or a competition shape, or you know powerlifting, anything like that. I'm still at like the best starting point I could be in all of the past for me, before. You know what I mean? So when I look at it like that, I'm like, okay, I can still make gradual improvements on that and then kind of go from there. But I can always look back and be like, I got to that point before doing it this way, doing it this way, doing it this way. Why don't I add another challenge of like, doing it this time around without adding in this, or without, doing this, or without going 5 or 6 days a week. Like, how can I optimize that? So that becomes the new challenge is, how do I, like right now, I maybe train 4 hours, and maybe, if you count rest periods and stuff, like I try to get out with under an hour and a half, like an hour and a half. And that's before it was like 2 to 3 hours at a time, you know? So, and I'm not hitting a muscle twice a week. I'm not, any of that type of stuff. And I like, I'm still at a pretty good spot, So each week it's like, how do I optimize that? So it's like, I can try to fit in a few more reps, or I can shorten my rest period and at the end of the workout, try to fit in a whole nother set, or maybe a whole nother exercise, or maybe add some abs in there, or, enough to like add in some extra stretching. Just every week it's like, getting the most bang for my buck in that period of time. And eventually that, like I said, that only 4 day split a week or whatever, to where I was, I'm sure Brandon has been in that like double days. I had like double days for a period of time, so there might have been a period of time I was training 14 times a week. You know what I mean? And so it's like, now how can I optimize that period of time I'm giving myself, and it makes the workouts harder. It makes them more fun, shorter rest periods, or like Brandon said, supersetting something in there. I'll do that a lot. I hate training shoulders. I've never been like one to like actually train my shoulders, but like now I'll do them, and I'll do it with like a band, or I'll do it with like a cluster where it's like I'm doing like 3 or 4 exercises, 10 reps, and I'm just jumping from one to the next. And it's like, so it's basically a giant set, you know. My shoulders aren't getting huge, but they are looking different. And they're not looking worse. You know what I mean? Like, I'm optimizing that time. And especially for me, where I have kind of broad shoulders just based off of my genetics, it's like they're getting a good shape to them without me having to like throw heavy presses around and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
optimizing the time that I have with the time that I'm giving myself.
I think there's two other things too that we did a lot, especially when we were younger. Is there's a lot of like really good weightlifting motivational stuff on YouTube if you look for it. Like especially the
Yeah.
people, I forgot the names of most of them, but they do like these. They'll take clips from like a whole bunch of different bodybuilders or powerlifters, and they add music to it, and they make it like this inspirational thing. And we used to back in the day, like we would drink our pre-workout and watch those videos. By the time the pre-workout's kicking in and you're all amped up from those videos, it's like you're ready to take on the world, and that's like that immediate motivation. So if you're like, oh, I got to go to the gym, but like you want to go, but you just don't feel like it, like that's a way to fix that. Um, be careful with the pre-workouts because a lot of them are they're
Yeah.
just too aggressive, and it's just not good for your health, and it's not good for your mind either, because it'll give you some motivation for the workout, but then you crash afterwards. I have found myself that N-acetyl L-tyrosine, dynamine, teacrine, and a little caffeine. That's a moneymaker right there. That's one that that'll give you motivation for sure. It may not tweak you out like some of the pre-workouts, but it'll give you motivation. The N-acetyl L-tyrosine will increase the amount of dopamine your brain has. Dynamine and teacrine kind of work well for like this. The one dynamine is very fast acting, teacrine is very slow, but they kind of do the same thing. And they pair both caffeine where you don't need as much caffeine. So like 100 milligrams of caffeine, 50 milligrams dynamine, 50 milligrams teacrine. I forgot the dosage I do for N-acetyl L-tyrosine, but I think it's like 50 or 100 milligrams too. So like on days where if I wake up, especially early in the morning, and I'm like just dragging, like hard to get out of bed and everything else. That's a way that gives me a little motivation and kind of gives me a good focus for the rest of the day as well. So little, little, I guess, nerdy stuff to chemically fix your brain for motivation if you want to.
No. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't care how motivated they get. Like, nobody ever really does anything they don't want to do. Especially when it comes to something that's like a hobby like this. So you got to find something you enjoy. And that's the first step. And sure enough, once you're doing something you enjoy, like you'll find your way back. If it's in you, it's in you, you know? So
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think that should do it for today's episode. Hopefully whenever I stop recording, we still have the first half that we recorded.
Yeah.
If not, even the second half that we got, this was a good one. So
yeah, I think so.
I'm happy with it. All right. You got anything final to add, Mason?
No, that's about it. I would just say, keep hitting us with your questions. I'm not going to give you all the corny like, subscribe, smash that whatever button. You know what I mean? You should be doing that, especially if you want to keep up with all these awesome answers that we have for you.
I'm just going to get
hit a brand name.
I'm going to get a recording of Riley saying, don't forget to subscribe to my channel or subscribe to
just
the channel.
What?
A recording of Riley saying it, and I'll just play that at the end. A little toddler going, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Oh, Brandon cut out.
Oh, shit. Well, can you see me? Am I moving?
Oh, there he goes.
All right. Let's just kill it before the internet ruins it. Ready? All right. Until next time, you're watching Body Geeks.
Yeah, watch it. All right.